Never miss an episode of the Final Furlong podcast. Subscribe now on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And now, here's your host, Emmet Kennedy.
You're very welcome to the final answers for Breeders' Cup 2025 in the company of Total Performance Data's Adam Mills, former jockey Georgia Cox, and the legend from At the Races and Sky Sports Racing. It's the genius that is Barry Faulkner. You are welcome back to the show, Barry.
I don't know what to say after all that. I mean, some people are easily fooled, Emmet.
Not at all. Absolute legend. This man has made us fortunes over the years, and hopefully in the Final Answers podcast for every race at the Breeders' Cup, there'll be more to come. We're going to begin with Future Stars Friday night, and that is the 5 Furlong Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint to kick things off, where the favourite is going to be True Love, who's beaten the boys once of the 4 times she's taken them on. To be fair, she probably should have won the Phoenix Stakes before picking up an injury very late in that race, and Puerto Rico was in behind, and he's unbeaten in 3 starts since and has won 2 Group 1s. So there's a lot in her favour. Wayne Lordan will ride her because he can do the weight on the night. Christophe Soumillon isn't sure that he can, and he needs the extra 24 hours to be certain he can do the 8 stone 7 for Mini Hawk on Saturday night as well. So no point in risking that and risking her being scratched. She's the 11-4, 3-1 favourite, around about that price now with 1xbet. Then you've got a man who's won this race 3 times, Wesley Ward with Schwarzenegger. Any puns can be allowed later on. 6-1, 7-1 is the price there. Havana Anna behind True Love the last day, 7-1 shot. And William Buick and Charlie Appleby won this race a couple of years ago. They're now represented by Military Code. And the 2-8 O'Brien second strings. Are they second strings? We shall find out in a little bit. Okay, Adam Mills, your thoughts on the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint, sir?
Oh, isn't this a fun way to start? This is quite a tricky race. I mean, I think the best of the Europeans is definitely True Love. I agree with that. If there were no other horses in the race and you ran it at Ascot, I'd be all over True Love. But I don't know, Stall 9 just kind of put me off a little bit. I think this is going to be a bit messy. I'm kind of taking a view that there's a bit of value in some of these turf races because I think there's just this assumption that the form from the UK and Ireland is going to translate directly. It's a very different type of track. I'm also going to say that if Lenaloo had been drawn lower, I would have backed Lenaloo, but I just think Stall 12 is a little bit tricky and she's not the biggest. It just put me off. So I'm going to make a statement here, which is quite bold, but I don't like Frankie Dettori. I think he should have retired. But I'm going to back Frankie Dettori to start my Breeders' Cup off because I like a horse of James Owens called Aspect Island, who is drawn in 4, massive price. Won on the Yarmouth Nursery by 7.5 lengths, which sort of is one of those kind of break the clock in the closing stages type things. And they went straight from that Yarmouth Nursery, rolled the dice in the Cornwallis Stakes, was only 3/4 of a length behind Brussels, only beaten just over a length by Beckford's Folly. Spicy Marge, Revival Power were in behind. You know, that was a really, really good run. And yet Aspect Island is more than double the price of Brussels, despite the fact that they're both drawn low. I like Stall 4. I think he's going to travel quite nicely. And I'll just take an each-way swing and hope Dettori is sensible.
Dettori and James Owen are 1 from 1, with James's only other runner to be sent over stateside. Now, that was Wimbledon Hawkeye, who probably had a class edge in the Nashville Derby at Kentucky Downs, to be fair. And he rides those undulating tracks way better than the American jockeys do. But I like this horse a lot. He doesn't have anything to find with Brussels. He's a brother to Tasselite, who won his maiden on good to firm ground, and then won a Group 2 and a Group 3 as a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old. Form of his debut was red hot. Distant Storm obviously placed in a Group 1. Isaac Newton was even 4th in a Group 1 the other day from his second run. But it's that Yarmouth Nursery, which we covered live on TalkSport 2, and the last time out effort as well. Pace to go forward, hopefully well positioned, at least to get a piece of it, but he might actually get the whole sweep. And he's 20s with 1xbet for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. I'm with you. What about Georgia Cox? Who are you with in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint?
Well, look, we know True Love's the only Group 1 winner in the field. She won the Railway Stakes, the same as Henry Matisse did 12 months ago before Breeders' Cup Glory. So her all-round profile, she looks the standout choice, but I'm just not sure with the dimensions of the track. She looks a heavy unit, and I just think the type track will be a big question mark. And this will actually be the 3rd time her and and Havana Anna have met, as they were also 2nd and 3rd behind Gustad in a maiden at Navan. But Havana Anna did get close to her in the Cheveley Park, and I think the tighter test at Del Mar could suit her more. She just seems a bit more nimble and lighter on her feet, and I also think the step back to 5 will suit her better as well. So I'm going to say it could be up to Donica to pinch one off of Aidan.
Donica's horse is working with Aidan's, as are Joseph's. They all travelled over together, and Donica has had horses place at the Breeders' Cup before, including Porta Fortuna a couple of years ago in the Juvenile Fillies Turf. Barry Faulkner, your first go at the Breeders' Cup for 2025. Who are you with in the Turf Sprint?
True Love, all over True Love. Best in the race by a street for me. The point about Aspect Islands is very well made point. I can see the each way prospects, and I can see him winning. You know, he's back in each way bet just to finish place. I can see that point with him, but I love True Love. I'm in love with True Love.
In love with True Love. Okay, this is exactly what happened in the American angle of the Final Furlong podcast. The last person to speak was trainer Tim Shaw, and he said, bet. True Love, he was all over her. Okay, so range of opinions for the Juvenile Turf Sprint. I think there's going to be a couple of exactas to be played potentially in that race. This episode is powered by 1xBet. If I say this now, then we've got a clearer run at it. So bear with us for 30 seconds while we give a shout out to 1xBet. They've got more than 7,000 events for you to bet on every single day on the website, fast withdrawals, and plenty of new customer specials, including bet 10, get €30 in free bets. Perfect timing for the Breeders' Cup this weekend. You can sign up now in Ireland at 1xbet.ie. Bet 10, get €30 in free bets, and you got 7,000 events a day to choose from. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus only. Gamble responsibly. 1xBet knows the crack. Bet with your head, not above it. Find out more at 1xbet.ie right now. The NetJets Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies.
Can I just
hit the dirt?
Before we get onto that, I've just got one thing for you, because I know you love your exactas.
Yes.
The first thing, 8 of the last 9 turf juvenile races have been won by horses trained over here, and the last 3 exactas in the turf sprint were provided by horses trained over here. 20 quid in your first year, they got 66, 64 back. 30 quid the next year, they got 85 back. 42 quid last year would have got you 209 quid back. So have a look at those and try and mix them up, because we could be in the first 2 or 3 in this race. Actually, one of the years it was a trifecta as well. So Turf Sprint was a great race for horses from over here.
So hopefully a Euro bonanza, and you could argue some of the best Americans are all very awkwardly drawn as well. They might get away with it, but hopefully Aspect Island, True Love, and maybe Brussels, and Anna, obviously, from Georgia, are all going to run massive races. Okay, first go at the dirt for us on this episode of the show. So NetJets Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. Tommy Joe for Todd Pletcher. Amazingly, he hasn't won this race yet, which is kind of crazy given the talent he's had over the years, but she's the 4-1 joint favourite. Explorer, though, is one of the favourites for Bob Baffert, who has won the race twice. Sire won a Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Classic. Dam was placed in multiple Grade 1s as well. She's bred for the job, and she's got course and distance form as well. Is she the one to beat, and are you with her, Adam Mills?
I don't know. I sort of feel like she might be, but I'm not entirely sure. It's quite messy. I'm not a superstitious man, but I do have a kind of a wish for this race, which is a bit of justice for a horse called Percy's Bar, who finished ahead of Tommy Joe last time. Now, if this steward's inquiry had taken place at Cheltenham last week under similar circumstances, when the result was announced, they would have burned the grandstand. The stewards would now be in witness protection. This is the most ridiculous steward's inquiry I've ever seen. I was asked to write about the race. I don't see how the stewards can possibly justify the decision, because it is far from certain that Tommy Joe would have won, but maybe because Tommy Joe was sent off at a very, very short price of 1.3, the result went her way. Maybe that's a bit harsh, but I just feel that form is a little bit wrong. I don't think there should be that much between Percy's Bar and Tommy Joe. There's not a lot between them on their stride daters. Percy's Bar would be a very tentative each way play, but it's probably the first race I'll be sitting out and just hoping for a bit of justice.
And 11-2 is around about the price with 1xBet for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies right now. Just on that, Barry, there's no guarantee she would have gone by, but maybe the stewards were thinking about the fact that she buried her by 6 lengths the previous start. But I'm not. If you thought the French 1,000 guineas was controversial, this was crazy.
I think the difficulty thing with all this is when trying to decide whether a horse will go by or won't go by, and George is probably better to deal with this than me. But I think that was a real proper whack that Tommy Joe got there. Lost a lot of momentum, was almost sideways, and didn't pick up Granted. But, I mean, the poor lass is going, whoa, what the bloody hell's happening here? I mean, she got a real crack. And Granted, I agree with you entirely. Over here, there's no way that the Percy's Bar have been taken down, because, she's won by 2 3/4 lengths, and it's all perfectly good, but it's not perfectly good because in dirt races, it's all about momentum, fast, slow. Once you've lost momentum, you've lost it. There are very few horses pick up on dirt after they've been given a crack like that. Journalism excluded in the Preakness. But so I like Tommy Joe here as a bet. Explorer, you can sort of see that one was beaten by Bottle of Rouge in the Del Mar Debutante, came back and won the Oak Leaf, which was always a good trial for this. Iron Orchard, another one, New York bred, won the Trezette. Not getting much credit for that, I think, for being a New York bred, but won it by a nose, finishing well. That's a good prep for this generally, but Tommy Joe is the one for me here.
Okay, and that horse is currently about 4-1 to give Todd Pletcher his first win in the race with 1x bet. She is closing fast though to 7-2, so if you like her, you're probably best to act now if she can maintain her superiority, or if potentially Percy's Bar, who, shout out Charlie Freeman, was all over on this podcast a couple of days ago to get her revenge. Georgia Cox, who are you siding with?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Tommy's Joe pulled away, Oh no, sorry. Percy's Bar was pulling away from her after the interference, and I was extremely surprised that there was a disqualification in that. I do quite like Bob Baffert's Explorer here, drawn 7. She won the Oak Leaf Stakes last time, which was her most polished performance that she's put up yet. Her course and distance form. But the last time she really did put distance between herself and the rest of the field at her first start over a mile. And yeah, she has been beaten by Bottle of Rouge before, but that was over 7. And I just felt like she was she was something to aim at for her and over this trip. And I think Explorer, Bob Baffert's had 19 wins at the Breeders' Cup and 6 of them have been in juvenile races. And I think he's got another real chance here.
Okay, another one for Bob Baffert. One for the good guys. Shout out Bob Baffert on the Final Furlong podcast. Maybe he's going to be in the winner's enclosure in the first race on dirt. We're going to switch to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. It's a race that Aidan O'Brien has won twice in the last 3 years. Lake Victoria came into this as a dual Group 1 winner in Europe and extended that to 3 with a devastating turn of foot to go and win the race late on last year. If Aidan O'Brien's going to do it this time around, he's got a problem to overcome. She's been done no favours with stall 13, just 1 for 28 since the 2000s began. So in the last 25 years, runners over a mile on grass at Del Mar are 1 for 28. But she's proven it the trip. She's got Christoph Sumi on board. Admittedly, he hasn't won a Breeders' Cup race since 2005 with Scirocco, so it's 20 years since his last Breeders' Cup win, but he's been in tremendous form. He's got multiple Group 1 wins to his name for Aidan O'Brien. Aidan won the 3 Group 1 juvenile races spread between the UK and France last weekend. She does have to do something that she hasn't done before, Adam, which is go around 2 left-handed turns in pretty quick succession. Most of her racing has been on a straight track. Does she just tower over this field? Does she just win, or are you really concerned by that draw?
No, I'll take Precise. She's won a Moyglare race. She's won the Fillies Mile. When she won the Fillies Mile, the BHA handicapper gave her a BHA rating 115 for that performance. And then it's not necessarily, the draw is maybe not ideal, but there's no evidence to suggest that Precise won't go around a bend or that this is going to be a problem. It's not like she's been running around Chester and struggled with the turns. So I think we're fine. And it's more that I looked at Precise and then I tried to look and think, right, what would beat Precise? And I'm really struggling. The third horse in the betting was Queen of Hawaii. Nice horse for Joseph O'Brien, but she's got an official rating of 102. And she's 3rd in the betting. So I'm kind of looking at this and thinking, right, so either Precise has got to run £10 below her best from that draw, or something has got to take such a remarkable leap forward on the figures that I probably wouldn't see it anyway. So for me, I just looked for what price would I bet? If Precise is even money, I think that's fair. Because I think you ran this 10 times, she'd win 5 of them. The other 5, maybe she'll be a bit unlucky from the draw. Maybe she'll meet traffic. But Precise has done nothing wrong. She's not looked awkward. She's always broken on terms from the stalls. It's just coincidence she's only run on straight courses. Her Group 1 form in the UK and in Ireland is so much better than everything else that I think even if she runs £3 or £4 below what she could do, it might still be enough. I just can't oppose her.
If you watched the full preview the other night, you'll have heard me drop a an expletive, an F-bomb when Stall 13 comes out for Precise. And then only after had I dropped the F-bomb, I went, apologies, children, cover your ears. That was real professionalism from me. But in my defense, everybody else in the panel did the exact same thing. We were all gutted. I think it's actually giving us a pretty decent price now about a horse who just towers over this field. And to put it in some context, adjusted RPRs, which if you're watching in America is kind of the Racing Post's equivalent of time form. Their adjusted RPR in this race for Precise is 132. The nearest to her is Ground Support, 124. So she should have the class edge, Georgia. Is she going to be able to negotiate that barrier?
Yeah, I think, look, the stall makes it look complicated, but I think the answer is still straightforward. Yes, it's a completely different test, but the more you look into the history of Aiden's runners in the Moyglare, and we've spoken about this before, looking back through the Moyglare results, the biggest sign in recent times is the underdog there ends up being the best of the crop. And I think that is still going to be the case here, even with the short runs, ins to the turn, obviously come up quick. I do think she will just outclass them.
Oh, I'm loving this. Okay, so 3 of us are with the red hot favourite Precise. There's going to be a couple of red hot favourites on the night. Barry Faulkner, this is the first of them. Are you with her?
Well, let me talk about the Americans first, and I'll tell you my conclusion after I finish this. Final Accord won a couple of races at 5 and 6 furlongs, should do better at the trip on breeding. Time to Dream, I think, will turn around the form in the Jessamine, which is the Keeneland prep for this race. Ground Support, figure not much, but she won the Miss Brillo, which has turned up wonders of this race in the past. But that is absolutely irrelevant because the one we all love towers above this field so much, and she could be draw 17, 18, 19 and 20 and she would still win.
I'm loving that. Don't complicate your mind. It's very easy to do.
It's a kiss race. You know what a kiss race is? Keep it simple, stupid. And I'm talking to myself here, not you guys.
Okay, don't complicate your mind, or keep it simple, stupid. Either one will do, but either way, we think Precise is going to win. She's going to be considered one of the bankers of the meeting. I should mention again, Flavian Pratt takes over from a jockey who got an absolute pasting from the American boys on the podcast the other night. And the second that Charlie Freeman already liked Infinite Sky, but the second he sees Flavian Pratt on board, he's even more excited. She's still 40-1, but 1xbet. So she could be one for the exactas. I don't think she has a chance in hell of beating Precise. And I'll just again mention Valentina for the exacta. I don't think she can win, but she certainly is overpriced for a place. And Oisin Murphy is going to be on board as well. He rides her for only the second time. He was on board when she won on debut. Sorry, second start. She was sent off favourite against the boys on debut. He was on board when she won on Irish Guineas weekend, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it was Irish Guineas weekend. Then she's third to Venetian Sun in the Albany Stakes at Royal Ascot. Second to Green Spirited, a horse that Adam knows very well. That horse has won a Group 2 and then got within a length of Diamond Necklace on Arc weekend in a Group 1 on her next start. The last time we saw Valentina, she completely bombed out behind Composing, but she was off the pace on a speed favouring track and the rain was pouring down that day. And maybe the race just came a little bit too soon after a big effort in France. So I'll forgive her that. And for a trainer I really, really like in Dunick O'Brien, I'm hoping that Valentina can get up for the exacta, but Precise just should go and win. The question then is the second of the good things also going to go in? Because now we're going to switch to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile and Ted Noffey, who's going to be a red-hot favourite. 1xbet go 6-5 on. You could get even money yesterday, but there's been a sea of cash. So 6-5 on about this horse in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. He has looked very, very special. You told me 2 starts back, this is a horse who's going to go far, Adam Mills. Is he now going to go on and win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile?
Well, he should do. He really should do. This field has got smaller and smaller and smaller as time's gone on. The smaller it gets, the more I like his chances. Initially, I was like, we're drawing widest, but then I was realising, actually, we're only in stall 8, and now we've got some non-runners as well. He's done absolutely nothing wrong. When I looked at the data last time, and I sort of refreshed it earlier in the week when I had to write a little preview for this race, and I looked at it and thought, blackout time was closing. But then when you watch the replay, you go, no, it wasn't. Johnny Velasquez wasn't really asking Ted Noffey to do anything other than just keep going. He's got lots in hand to uphold that form. Brandt is a possible danger. He's a big horse, Brandt. Big horse, 25-foot longer stride. But the fact he's drawn next door to Ted Noffey, I think actually helps, because I think Brandt will go forward like he did last time. If he does, he'll just tow Ted Noffey into it. and I just don't think he's got the same amount of speed. If there is a danger, it could be the Jeff Mullins trained Intrepido. If you haven't studied this race yet, have a little watch back of that last run. Intrepido, I could not believe. I thought the result was wrong when I watched the replay because he got in all kinds of trouble, and then he just in the final furlong he really flew. It's interesting. Intrepido might be one for the exacta, but if I was with Ted Noffey in August thinking this race would be deeper than it is, I've got to be with him now. And I don't think they'll get past him once he hits the front.
Yeah, he's going to look like a real good thing. I think there's going to be quite a few multiples on the night, Georgia. Are you going to be throwing Ted Noffey into yours? Because you're famous for your multiple bets.
Yeah, I think it would be the 2 greys will be coming to the fore. Brant has the home field advantage. I suspect he'll probably go forward on a track he knows, and he'll probably be the toughest competition Ted Noffey has met yet. Brant has the advantage of not having to obviously ship, and but it is his first start of the trip, and he's never gone the 2 turns before. But I really love Ted Noffey. What he does to his opposition in the last furlong, they just don't see which way he goes. I think he's very good. The clock backs it up. He's ultra professional, and I think he'll come out on top.
Loving this. I happened to be watching his debut run. Wasn't really expecting too much of him, Barry. He was very impressive. I happened to be watching live because my social life is so active. The New York Racing Association's coverage of Saratoga, and my jaw was on the floor when he bolted up. And then Adam and I were talking endlessly about him, it seemed like, in preparation for a podcast about, hey, did you see this horse in America the other night? He was unbelievable. Is he going to get the job done? Is he going to win the Juvenile?
He's clearly the one that is the easiest to make a short price about. There's no doubt at all with that one. I wasn't overly impressed with his running the British Futurity. Yes, he was going away from the other fellow, but he wasn't jaw-dropping. They'd not gone particularly quick, so I suppose the lad in second has still got something left as well. I just wonder, looking at his breeding, whether he is that stoutly bred, this fella. And if he really gets a test over 8.5 furlongs, that he's going to be, up against it right at the end. I love Intrepido in this race. The price that I'm not sure what he is currently. I know he's 8 to 1 morning line, but I agree with Adam was saying about the American Pharaoh race. There's only 6 in the race. There were 4 from Baffert, 1 from another guy, and this fella. And it's sort of bloke who could get into a fight, but on his own in his own barn. And he couldn't have had more trouble in the race, and he got out of it and came away and won. So I'm all over him as my alternative to Ted Noffey. I'll let Ted Noffey beat me, but I wouldn't be backing him at the price.
He's a rig, which means one of his testicles didn't fully descend even.
Correct.
So if he's able to run this fast with that affliction, then fair play to him.
It didn't impede AP Indy, and it also didn't impede AP Indy's career at stud either.
True. They managed to hurdle that obstacle. That's such a weird one we're talking about. Okay.
You were just trying to be very delicate there, weren't you?
Yeah, you kind of have to be in that particular one. But hey, it worked for him. I remember reading about rigs years ago, going, "Oh my goodness, is there no way to fix it?" No, there isn't. Poor fellas. Ted Noffey 6-5 on Intrepido 13-2 with 1x bet. So you have an alternative. I think most people are going to be with Adam, Georgia, just saying, this is simple. Ted Noffey wins. We'll do the double. Are you going to do the treble with Stad, who's going to be a red-hot favourite for a race? Aidan O'Brien is seeking his 4th consecutive win in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. It's a race he's won 4 times before, and you could argue that Stad is the best juvenile he sent to this race, maybe alongside Henri Matisse, and certainly Mendelssohn was really good, but he's just come up short in 3 Group 1s in a row. You heard Aidan O'Brien's views on the horse on the Final Furlong podcast last week, an episode that was really well received. Thank you. And I should say, for more great content like that, smash a like button on this video and also hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode of the Final Furlong podcast. It's a big help to us with the algorithm, so smash the subscribe button now, please. Thank you very much. He describes him as nimble, quick, and a horse who will stay. He does have to stay a mile for the first time. He's also got trap 14 to overcome. So I was keen to take him on Howard's show on Friday night, but that was with the proviso that humidity was in the field, and I thought he was overpriced and underrated. There's no humidity. Gate 14, does this mean we're getting a bigger price than we should be, or do you want to take him on, Adam?
Tough question. I don't want to back him. I don't want to back him at 5-4. Horse, he's finished second on his last 3 starts, drawn out in 14. quite a big lad. Not enough for me. That's not big enough for me. I think he's the best horse in the race, but I just don't want to take that price. I'd be annoyed at myself if I took that and he gets squeezed out of the first turn or something happens. I'm not convinced. But then you have the difficult question then is sort of like, what do you take him on with? I sort of toyed half with the idea of Ardisia because the horse is always underestimated and runs his race, but not enough. But I have kind of come to a theory doing a lot of study for the Breeders' Cup that sometimes the markets over here just look at the American turf horses and just put a line through them and assume they're not as good as ours. And I don't think that's always the case. I could see the case for outfielder. Had they not had that ridiculous experiment in Deauville, he probably could be coming into this with an unbeaten profile. They should really look at the record of American horses in France. They don't do that well. But I like a horse called Bottas, who has won 2 from 2 in New York. Completely different kettle of fish to what he's going to be dealing with on Friday evening. But he's 11-1 and drawn in stall 12. He's going to have Gustad outside him. You'd assume that Christophe Soumillon is going to try and get into a prominent position, so there's the opportunity to be towed into it. He won the Pilgrim Stakes at Aqueduct, or Belmont at the Big As is. That race became a bit of a sprint finish. He got hampered in the straight. It was a bit messy, but I really liked his attitude in the closing stages. Head down, going to run through it. Really low variance on his stride length. He was hitting the line really hard. I think the big field will suit. I'd rather just back him each way. And if Gustad gets to the front and proves to be far too good, then so be it. But I think Bottas is a decent each way bet because without the favourite, I don't think this is very deep at all.
Okay, Bottas is 11-1, 9-1 maybe, with one expect. Maybe somebody just took advantage of Adam Mills' excellent insight there. How do you see this race going, Georgia? Stad is obviously the one to beat. Can he negotiate that stall 14?
Yeah, I like him when you look back and think Henry Matisse showed us 12 months ago he was drawn 13, and Mendelssohn, who was second in the Dewhurst to US Davy flag before going on to win the Breeders' Cup. They have sort of similar profiles on that front, but I'm not sure. I'm sure Gustad has more talent than your Unquestionables, but probably not as much of a straightforward ride. You know, he has got like Adam said, the form with outfielder, but we're used to seeing him train on the track in such a uniformed fashion, and he was one of the ones I was really looking at to watch them in the mornings because, you know, they're used to flying in and out on the morning of Ascot or whatever, and it's the only time they train on a track, and that is a big part of this. And he's such an imposing horse. When they were trotting around, he was next to the line in winter, and he was bigger than him. He's a more imposing physical, and it would be interesting to see how it plays up, stepping up and trip. I do think it would be good for him to get knocked off his feet a bit. You know, to be fair to him, when he was keen last time, he more got set alight by another one coming past, but he does really need to drop his head. I did also like the Hugo Palmer horse, Adricia, just because of his little, like, hard as nails, ran 11 times, so consistent, and his little terrier-like attitude, and he's small and nimble to get round. But yeah, I mean, I'm just not sure I would bet in this race, to be honest.
Oh, wow. Okay, no bet race for Georgia Cox in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. Is it a bet race, though, for the Don, Barry Faulkner?
Well, I mean, Gustad I think, is probably the best, arguably the best that has been sent over from Ballydoyle, quite honestly. And he's miles ahead of this lot. Two things worries, the draw we mentioned and how keen he was to post, not just in the race last time. Is this mile as far as he wants to go as well? I don't know. You know, there's Star Spangled Banner on top and Exceeding It, Selmare underneath. It's all speed. But he's clearly the best from over here. I looked at it as well from the point of view that was been mentioned earlier, that Bottas is one of my potential each-way goes. The other one is Argos, won the Summer Stakes at Woodbine. He was taken up into the first turn. They did really well, I think, to win the race. So those two are live each-way pops. But Start should win this race. You can have outfielder with me, by the way.
You're not keen on outfielder?
No.
Okay. Don't let Kia hear you say that too loudly. He's not going to be too impressed. They paid another one they paid a fortune for. Shout out Kia. We want you on the show, hopefully in the new year. I do think Stad is going to take an awful lot of beating. Do you think you just have to trust Aidan O'Brien's record in the race? And it's probably just a very simple treble. The thing I'd say just very briefly on this, Adam, is this is a tricky treble because he's in the wrong position. If you're doing a treble on Friday night and he's the first leg of it and he bombs out, well, your tenor treble, you can just reload and shoot again if you really want to, with the double on Ted Noffey and Precise. And those horses are too short to be chasing losses on. But if you're putting, say you put 20 quid, let's say they're all even money, you put 20 quid in Precise, she wins. You've got 40 quid going on to Ted Noffey, he wins. Do you really want to be having 80 quid rolling on to Stad?
Maybe. I mean, if you remember about 6 weeks ago, we did a little Final Furlong podcast on the Grade 1 races at Woodbine on a Saturday evening when Charlie Appleby had 3 horses and the draw was against all 3 of them, and that treble paid about 8-1, and the subsequent form with notable speed and things, it's all kind of been a bit messy. But I just feel like this is the Breeders' Cup. Not every favourite wins, and it wouldn't be a multiple for me. And I agree with you. I think of the 3, Gestad is the one that I'd most want to take on. If you said to me, you've got to lay one of them, it would be him. But then equally speaking, you might take the view, if you're going to be a proper punter, and think, well, I'll back the first 2, and if the third one's running, I'll just lay him for my stake and take out 40 quid profit no matter what happens. But it's just not. It's kind of that they're priced on the assumption this was a straight course, and it's not. So it's not as straightforward as just point and shoot. You've got to get a bit of luck in running. It just don't blow all your budget, Emmet, on Friday night, because you'll get to Saturday and they'll all win, and you'll go, oh no. Yeah,
you'll be sick. You could just do the double, and then whatever your stake was on that double, if it comes off with Ted Noffey and Precise, then have the stake on. So if you put a 20 quid double on, you get that up. Then just reinvest the 20 quid instead. And if he wins, great, fantastic. You've got more money to play with the next day. And if he doesn't, again, if he's the first leg of that treble, it's easier. The last leg, I really hope he wins it. It'd be great if he does. And obviously it helps Aidan O'Brien on his quest to better his own incredible record of 28 Group and Grade 1 wins in a single season. But there's definitely risks attached to him. But for sure, he's the one to beat. I'm going to get the best bets from the team for Friday before we switch to Saturday. But this episode is powered by 1xBet. We're sponsoring 3 races at the Curragh on Sunday, including the Final Furlong Podcast Handicap, which is race 4 on the card. There's the very last race of the Curragh for 2025 will also be sponsored by 1xBet. And we've got a competition for you. We're going to be giving away tickets to the Curragh on Sunday with a race card. Yeah, that's all great. There's also dinner. Dinner included at the Curragh on Sunday afternoon. All you have to do is be subscribed to the Final Furlong Podcast. So if you haven't done that yet, do it now. And we'll do comments for entry. We're going to give this away tomorrow. We'll announce the winners on Friday evening. We'll contact you either via YouTube or social media. Details how you can win tickets to the Curragh. You got to be in Ireland, obviously. Unless you want to fly over, fantastic. You're very welcome to do that. It'll be at your expense, though. So if you're in Ireland and you'd like to go to the Curragh on Sunday, make sure you're listening and watching the weekend preview, our most popular show of the week, on Thursday. We'll give you details about how you can win. There's quite a few tickets to give away, and dinner for all of you at the Curragh as well. You and a friend, courtesy of ourselves and 1xBet. And you can sign up to 1xBet right now and take advantage of their Bet 10, get €30 offer just in time for the Breeders' Cup. But of course, it extends beyond that too. You can put it on whatever you want. There's 7,000 markets per day for you to bet on the 1xBet website in Ireland, 1xBet.ie. You can sign up now at 1xBet.ie. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus only. BeGambleAware.org. 1xBet knows the crack. Bet with your head, not above it. And with that in mind, who are your best bets for Friday at the Breeders' Cup? Adam Mills.
If you wanted to back a winner, I think Precise is the one, because I just think of all the horses, she's the one most likely to win. But, you didn't need me to tell you that. The market said that. In terms of value, I think in the Juvenile Turf Sprint, Aspect Island is far too big at 20 to 1. And I think the horse should be closer to the 8 or 9 to 1 market. So if I think he's got an 11% chance and the market says he's got 5%, that's quite a big differential. So that's bet at a much bigger price.
You've no idea how happy I am that you're backing up my opinion on Aspect Island. I mentioned him the other night. Davy Lane shut it down. So he was like, nah, this horse got no chance. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what Davy said. I think he's had a huge chance, at least, of getting a piece of the action, and he may very well scoop the whole lot. Georgia Cox, your best bet for Friday?
Yeah, going back to what you were saying a bit, I just think, is it that easy though? Like it was last week at Doncaster and then France, and that's when I'm sure lots of people would have been doing multiples, etc. But I think there's more questions here, and obviously Precise is the obvious one, and Ted Noffy's probably obvious as well, but I just love him, so I'll go with him.
Okay. Bear in mind, when Adam Mills mentions that Godolphin treble in Canada, the specific reason he's mentioning that is because only one of them won. And that was notable speech. Barry Faulkner, your best bet for Friday at the Breeders' Cup?
A great start with True Love.
Okay. True Love. 11-4. You can argue that's an insane price for a horse of that ability. True Love, the nap for Barry Faulkner. I'm going to go each way, Aspect Island, and keep it simple, stupid. Precise and Ted Noffy, they both go and win. If you're feeling bold, feeling ambitious, you're ready to roll that dice and have a bit of a risk, throw in Stad as well. But I think that's one you want to be watching. It's going to be late at night. It's going to be 25 past 12 on Saturday, and that might be one that you're watching between your... like this. Did he manage to get up? Did he? If that's fun for you, then yeah, fire away. Best of luck. They're your best bets for Friday at the Breeders' Cup.
Thanks for spending some time with us on the Final Furlong podcast. We're independent media, so if you like what we do, hit like, share, and subscribe. It's free, it's quick, and it genuinely helps. And if you enjoyed this episode, there's plenty more where that came from. Don't miss out. Subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all major platforms, and join us on the gravy train. The Final Furlong podcast, independent, unfiltered, and powered by you.